Eliza left, but I didn't. Because in this story, I'm here now. And this time, I'm not just a side character. I'm the protagonist of my own story. One morning, I woke up. Her scent wasn't on my pillow, but there was peace inside me. For the first time in a long while, the silence didn't sting. Because that silence wasn't loneliness anymore. It was being alone with myself. I looked out the window. The air was gray, but the sky was clear, just like inside me, tired but ready. That day, I did things I hadn't done in a long time. I made myself breakfast, played music, smiled in the mirror, and in my notebook I wrote, I forgave myself. I forgave myself because I waited too long to be loved. I sought my worth in someone else's eyes. But now I know, someone not loving you doesn't mean you're unworthy of love. I loved well. I gave my very best. Did I leave? Number, did I abandon? Number, but I let go. Because sometimes it's not leaving, it's trying to stay that wears you down more. I didn't start a new chapter in my life. Because this is still the same book, just a new section has begun. And in this section, I'm rewriting myself. I may be alone, but I'm not incomplete. Because incompleteness isn't measured by someone's absence. It starts with not feeling your own presence. Eliza still crosses my mind sometimes, but I don't search for her anymore. The memories no longer hurt, because I gave them meaning, and the person carrying that meaning isn't her anymore. It's me. I don't know what tomorrow holds. Will I fall in love again? Will someone carry me in their heart? Or will I grow old alone? I don't know any of it, but I know one thing for sure. I love myself now, without feeling half. And isn't that the strongest ending to a love story? Saying goodbye isn't always waving a hand. Sometimes it's walking away without looking back. Sometimes it's hearing the same name years later and not feeling a pang in your heart. The day I left Eliza, the world didn't stop. The sun rose, people went to work, children played in the streets. But the time inside me felt frozen. A new morning had come, but I was still carrying the weight of that last night. Her eyes and the echo of her not saying stay lingered. But that silence was no longer a wound. It was a sign, a quiet marker showing me the way. This is where it ends. The first weeks were hard. I woke up searching for her scent. I made an extra cup of coffee for her, and every time a sound buzzed, I checked for a message. But none came. And this time, I wasn't waiting. That notebook, the one where I wrote memories of her, I started writing about myself. The first day, just one sentence. Today, I breathed. The second day, today I said hello to a stray dog. The third day, today I went 5 hours without thinking of Eliza. In time, I understood. It wasn't about forgetting Eliza. It was about rebuilding myself in her absence. Because you love someone, even if they don't love you back. But you must never forget to love yourself. And I began returning to myself. One day, I saw her on the street. She was holding a book again, alone. Our eyes met, but this time, there was no guilt in hers, and no expectation in mine. We just thanked the past with our eyes. It's over, we said silently, but we no longer felt incomplete. Some people come to show us who we're not, others to remind us who we are. Eliza did both. I forgave her, because loving her, like forgiving her, was a kind of freedom, and now I could walk without holding anyone in my heart. That morning, there was no silence. I hadn't stayed quiet, and she, for the first time, was genuinely surprised. We need to talk, I said. She looked up. For a moment, she resembled the old Eliza, that familiar raised eyebrow, that mixed gaze. But her eyes were different, not tired. Defensive. I sat at the table. As calmly, clearly, and openly as I could, I spoke. You may not love me anymore, and you have that right. But you can't act like you've forgotten me, because I lived here, with you, inside you, in this house. I was part of this story. I wasn't just an extra. She stayed silent. She neither defended herself nor denied it. She looked away, and in that moment, her silence carried meaning for me for the first time, because this time, by staying quiet, she actually said something. "Eliza," I said, "I still love you, okay? But if this love diminishes me, I can't hold on to it anymore. If staying with you means giving up on myself, then leaving isn't abandonment. It's a rebirth." For the first time, her eyes welled up, but she still didn't speak. I took a deep breath. "I came to say goodbye," I said, out loud, definitively, without leaving it unfinished, because I don't want to be buried in your silence anymore. I stood up. As I left the room, I waited for her to look after me. A sound, a sentence, at least a wait. But nothing came. As I headed toward the door, something happened. She slowly stood up. She said my name. "Daniel." I turned back. She was looking at my face. I thought I'd forgotten you," she said. "You settled for thinking," I replied, "because remembering takes courage." She smiled, but it was a painful smile. And in that moment, we both understood. This story had to end here, because sometimes love is completed not by staying, but by letting go. That day, I left the house. For the first time, my shoulders felt light, because it's not the weight of loving someone that exhausts you, it's the lack of reciprocation. And I realized Eliza hadn't erased me. I understood that as I left, because as I walked out the door, she was looking after me. Her eyes were full, but she still wasn't speaking. Not because she couldn't say goodbye to me, but because her words were too late to hold me back. Being forgotten wasn't like dying. It was more like being erased while still alive, knowing your name is still spoken, but feeling it no longer belongs anywhere. I was slowly removed from Eliza's life. She never outright said, "I don't love you anymore." But nothing in her room reminded her of me anymore. The photos we took together were gone, notes erased, coffee mug replaced, as if I'd never existed. But I had. And that's exactly why a question grew inside me. How can someone erase you so silently? While searching for an answer, I noticed something. Eliza was still there, but she had started living a different life. And I began to feel like a detail left in the past. That's when I decided. I would either leave completely or try one last time to remind her why she loved me. I didn't make a plan. It wasn't strategic. It was instinctive. One morning I prepared breakfast, her favorite cheese, pomegranate seeds, cinnamon coffee. When she entered the room, I was sitting at the table. I quietly waited for her to smile. She didn't smile, but she sat down. And without a word, she took a piece of cheese. It was a small thing, but it was like a bridge from the past, fragile, cracked, but still there. The next day, I suggested going out. "A walk," I said. "I have work," she replied. Something inside me fell in that moment, but I still didn't give up, because even if she was done, I was still at the beginning of this story. Maybe I wasn't trying to hold on to her, but to make her remember me. That night, I wrote in my notebook, "For her to remember me, she has to leave me now, because some people are only noticed after they're gone." My plan changed. I wasn't trying to win her back anymore. I had to do something to keep from losing myself. I stepped outside the house. For the first time, I walked for hours, thoughtlessly, aimlessly, silently. And at the end of that walk, I realized I can't live inside her anymore. But I mustn't forget who I am outside of her. That's when I made my decision. I wouldn't leave. But I wouldn't stay either. In the place where she forgot me, I would find myself again. One morning, I woke up and couldn't remember the sound of my own voice. At first, I didn't notice. I went to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, fixed my hair. But then I tried to say something, anything. "Good morning," but no sound came, because I was instinctively ready to call out to Eliza. But she was already gone, not physically. Eliza was still in the house, drinking her morning coffee, reading a book, occasionally glancing out the window. But I no longer existed in her morning. Her eyes slid over me, as if I were invisible, as if I were just a painting hanging on the wall, present but silent. She didn't talk to me, but she hadn't said she was leaving either. It was a rotting kind of abandonment. No fight, no closure, just diminutions. The moments of eye contact dwindled. Sentences grew short, then wordless, and with each loss, I withdrew further into myself. I kept finding myself listening to the music she loved, not because I thought she'd come back, but because I thought I still loved it too, but no song felt like mine anymore. Loneliness isn't silence. Loneliness is having to stay silent when there's someone to talk to. It's standing next to the person you love and watching them become a stranger. I had a notebook. I used to write things about Eliza, moments she laughed, strange things she said, flavors she loved. But now I couldn't write, because I wasn't learning anything new about her. She no longer showed herself to me. One evening I read the old notes. Today, when she hugged me, she smelled like chamomile. This morning, when she woke up, her eyes looked for me first. If she ever leaves, I think I'll miss this moment. I stopped at that line. If she ever leaves... She had left, but she hadn't slammed the door behind her. She'd left quietly, and I was still standing at the doorstep, waiting. That night, for the first time, I was truly alone. There was no sound in the room but my own breathing, and for the first time in years, I got lost inside myself. We kept living in the same house, the same couch, the same table, the same bed. But it was as if our lives were playing on two different frequencies. I was trying to hear her voice, while she had chosen not to speak anymore. We were together, but we were alone. We spent days without even touching each other's shadows. We left through the same door, but scattered to different corners of the street. We entered through a door opened by the same key, but drifted into separate worlds. One evening, she said she was going out. She used to tell me where she was going in moments like these. Now it was just, I'm going out. And I had learned to say, okay. Her indifference didn't hurt me anymore. I was trying to get used to the idea that she had forgotten me. Sometimes she came back late. Hours passed, my phone in hand, no notifications, my sleep slipping away. But I didn't ask, because asking required courage, and I was busy convincing myself I was ready to lose her. One day she came home with a flower, tulips. I loved roses, she knew that. She put the flowers in a vase, said nothing, just left them on the table and went to her room. It wasn't a sign of forgiveness or love. It was a random act born of habit. And in that moment, I realized, sometimes people get used to not loving you, and you can't change that. We sat at the same table, but the sentences were gone. We ate without meeting each other's eyes. The TV was on, but no one was watching. She looked at her phone, and I looked at her, but she no longer saw anything. One day, I noticed she wasn't there, yet she was right beside me, an arm's length away. But her heart had already gone to another time, another place, maybe another man. And that day, I learned what it meant to feel her absence while she was still by my side. Our living in the same house was now just a memory. That house was no longer ours. It was the home of a stranger woven with silence. And that stranger was me. You don't always realize when love ends, but you know when it changes. I'll never forget that day. We looked into each other's eyes, but we couldn't see each other. Eliza was in the kitchen. I was reading a book in the living room. When I turned to her, her eyes were on me, but it was as if I were passing through them. Her gaze didn't rest on me. It went through me, as if I wasn't even there. Is something wrong? I asked. She shrugged. Number just... tired. But that tiredness wasn't just one day's. It was months' worth. As if there was something she hadn't told me but had weighed in her mind countless times. And she could no longer bear that burden. She'd lost her words. I was only just beginning to memorize her sentences. That day, the house was quiet, but that silence choked me. We cooked together, but even the sound of forks didn't touch each other. Her favorite song played. She used to smile, Now she blocked her ears. The show she loved sharing with me started. I want to watch it alone, she said. In that moment, though we were together, I tasted loneliness for the first time. At night, we lay on the same side of the bed, but not in the same world. She turned her back to me, and I realized, for the first time, that back didn't belong to me. My thoughts screamed, "Ask her! Say what's wrong, talk, don't let her leave you like this." But a voice silenced me. "If she still loves you, she'll tell you herself." That night, neither of us spoke. But sometimes, not speaking is a betrayal too, because some silences build a wall between you that no sentence can ever repair. In the morning, I made coffee. She reached out, took it, but didn't say thank you. That lack of thanks was the sound of the first crack inside me. Small things, perhaps. But love is the constant repetition of small things. And when those repetitions stop, it's not love that dies. It's hope. That morning, I wasn't looking at a coffee cup, but at a silent farewell letter. Love didn't begin with Eliza's first smile. That moment was merely a spark. True love was born the morning her eyes started to recognize me. It was a Saturday. I watched her for a long time before she woke up. Her hair was tangled on the pillow, a strand falling over her forehead, which I gently pushed back with my fingers. And even before she opened her eyes, I knew. I was inside a story I'd never want to tell anyone else. She didn't say, "Stay," that day, but for the first time, she made me feel she truly wanted me to. We had breakfast together, 2 cups of black coffee, a handful of olives, half a pack of biscuits. It wasn't the food that filled us, it was the conversation. "The people I love are either too loud or too quiet," she said. You're right in the middle." I don't know if that's peace or danger. I was ready to risk danger for her. I'd already lost peace. I memorized her name that day. Eliza. It sounded like an old song. Forgotten, but once heard, always echoing from within. Her name found a resonance even in the quietest corners of my mind. If someone in a crowd said Elif, I'd turn to look. If I saw a drawing, I'd think, Eliza would draw like this. If I caught a scent on the street, I'd pause, wondering, is that her perfume? I didn't realize when she started loving me, but when she chose not to love me, everything was so silent that even the silence made my ears bleed. Our love didn't start like a wildfire. It grew in the steam of a teacup, in the margin of a book page, in a glance reflected on a subway window. It was small, but it was real. And some truths collapse more quietly than grand lies. I never possessed Eliza, but I surrendered myself to her. And sometimes love is just that. Offering yourself to someone in your most vulnerable state, and praying they'll hold it without trembling. Her voice didn't tremble the first time she said my name, but she paused, as if no one had ever claimed that name so fully before. "Daniel," she said, "it's easy to talk to you." She didn't know. I held that sentence as equal to a lifetime. I first met her on the subway. She was holding a book. I didn't see the cover, but I saw her hands. Between her fingers, a page with a folded corner, as if she kept returning to a single sentence. Then she looked at me. There was a tired elegance in her eyes, not fleeing from something, but as if still trying to return from somewhere. She smiled. I smiled back. And in that moment, the door to my loneliness cracked open. Her name was Eliza. She was 29, a freelance illustrator, but in a way, always a storyteller. She'd say she couldn't draw her own emotions, but when she first drew me, she looked into my eyes without ever looking away. "It's strange how clearly you remember," she'd say, "but some memories write themselves. It wasn't my memory that was strong, it was the way she touched me that was indelible. Before we met, I only wanted to be told by someone, to take part in someone's story, to appear in a line, to be the reason for a sentence. Eliza gave me that place. We met in the spring. All summer, we never let go of each other's hands. Before autumn came, her lips said stay to mine, and I stayed. But when winter arrived, she turned to another place. She never named that place, but her eyes no longer described me. She forgot me on a Tuesday, not with shouts, not with a dramatic breakup. Doors didn't slam, voices didn't rise. It was just a soft shift in her eyes, as if when she blinked, I vanished. That morning, she poured 2 cups of coffee. By evening, only 1. My name is Daniel Reeve. I'm 34 years old, and I think the woman I love forgot how to love me somewhere between a shared laugh and an unanswered message. There was no crash, no visible fracture line, just silence, like a fog no one invited, spreading to the walls. We used to leave each other notes, small things. Get milk. Your smile was so sweet this morning. I saw you as my wife in my dream. Now the fridge is empty. So is its writing. People say love ends with betrayal, with cheating, with fights. But sometimes love dies slowly. So slowly that you only notice it's gone when you reach out to hold it, and your hand comes back empty. I didn't cheat on her. I didn't hurt her. I didn't even forget her birthday. But I think she forgot how to need me, and I forgot how to stop waiting.